Ready, action.
In second grade, I lost my place in reading, and I got sent out into the hall. And I looked up, and my dad, who was the principal of the high school, came down the hall and saw me. And I remember that night very, yeah. And when I taught, I never put a kid out in the hall. And then when I was growing up, when Dad was principal, I would ride in his chair up and down the hallway of the high school. When he'd come in and do his book work. They didn't have secretaries when Dad was principal, so he had to take the attendance and do all of that. And when he would do that, my brother Bob and I would ride up and down the hall and get to play down that way.
And Janice, you never got into trouble, did you?
Of course not. I got a special job, and Elsie reminded me that she had a special job doing the checks. I had a special job keeping the permanent records and making sure the report cards got out, the stuff got on the report cards, give the kids, and they'd give us 2 or 3 days off to do that. And then the permanent records were kept in the safe room, and I could go in and look at everybody's IQ.
Oh. And I suppose Dennis never got into trouble.
Well, the worst trouble was I only went to Fife High School my senior year. I went to the elementary. I went to Bellarmine Prep for 3 years, and I came back and went to Fife my senior year. We had our wrestling tournament in Pullman, March 11th, 12th, and 13th, or 12th, 13th, 14th, and when we came home from there, we were this little Fife High School, and we went to the state wrestling tournament. We had, our wrestling was, because basketball and wrestling coincided, we had them in the elementary school in the multi-purpose room there. And we wrestled Lincoln of Tacoma, and I remember 1957, we beat Lincoln. Completely unheard of from a little school with 65 graduating seniors against Lincoln High School with 300 that came down to the last bout. I had wrestled heavyweight, weighed 187 pounds, and I wrestled a guy named Dick Ferguson who weighed 248 pounds. And I wrestled him at Lincoln, and I got a draw, and I wrestled him at Fife, and the fans and the screaming, and I can still hear it today. I beat him 3-2, and we won that match. We went to state, came back home. Jerry Conine in my class was a state champion, later went to Southern California, wrestled, was a member of the 1962 Olympic team that did not go to Germany or Russia or Moscow, won them because that Olympic team stayed home. We had a banquet. Monty Fox had a 1948 Ford, and we went down to Colonial Gardens, and we got a 55-gallon barrel of wine. And we took it up to Mulseri's gravel pit up in Edgewood, and we drank wine and got drunk and rolled down the hill.
Are you sure you want everybody to know this?
That's fine. That's fine. We were in an awards banquet at the end of the year where they hand out your letters and everything. They have that large awards banquet of the year. And Mr. Gustafson come behind and tapped me on the shoulder, and this guy on the shoulder, and that guy on the shoulder, and that guy on the arm. Bam. 13 of us down to Mr. Hall's office. He says, "Why did you guys do it?" "What? Why did we do what? Why did you guys go down there and steal on them?" "We didn't steal any wine." Somehow, 3 weeks later, they caught up to us. And I don't even remember what the suspension was, but that was the worst trouble was that year. But there were 13 of us.
And who was your wrestling coach?
Mr.
Vincent?
No, Kennison.
Oh, Kennison.
Kennison. He was there with Hatley, Kennison. One was the head coach, and the other guy, Mr. Kennison, was a track star at Washington State.
Yes, he was.
And he came here and coached at Fife, and he said he didn't want to go to a big school. He liked being in the country, as we were called.
He taught, I had him in high school, I can't remember what he taught. World history, maybe?
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway. Okay, and Elsie?
Well, I was blessed that when I left Fife, I had all these wonderful classmates. And then when I came back after we were incarcerated for 3.5 years, I came back, and my friends were still my friends. They, where have you been? And just explained it, and that was it. But I was blessed because when you said, Mr. Gustafson, I remember Mr. Fletchner, the music teacher, all right?
Stretch.
Yes. And he came down I was 8 years old when I came back, so he came down I was in the 3rd grade then, when I came back, and so he chose 3 of us to become junior majorettes. And I was blessed to be one of those 3. And the best part of that was that we got out at lunchtime to march with the high school band. And you know where 20th is now? That's where we practiced for the Daffodil Parade.
Yes.
For the Daffodil Parade. And then the head majorette was Mary Wetta. And she taught us how to twirl a baton. And so that was a blessing of coming from a small school, and I'll always remember Mr. Fletchner for coming down and giving us that privilege. It's a good school.
Oh, yeah.
It turned out to be a good school
Yeah.
for me.
And Mr. Fletchner, I had him in band, and he was a skinny, tall guy.
Yes.
We all know.
Yes.
He could put a belt around him and take in enough air and break the belt.
Oh,
Yeah, believe it or not.
Wow.
He showed us, he'd always show every one of his classes that he could do that, so.
so he's in charge of that class.
He was in charge, yes. Yeah. So anyway, if you were telling younger people today what would be, why would they want to have lived in Fife? What would you tell them? Or, of course, nowadays it's completely different than what it was then. But, what do you suppose what have you missed about not living in Fife?
Friendships.
I miss the
Friendships?
people,
The people,
friendships that I,
The bean fields, the daffodil fields,
seeing the
Well,
people.
cornfields.
going through 12 years of school with the same kids,
Mhm.
except
Right.
the Milton foreigners came down.
For high school,
Yeah.
yeah.
And see, we, all of us sitting here at the table have friendships of all of our classes, and you still know everybody, but like my kids, they went to Puyallup, and gosh, there was 500 or 600 kids, you didn't know half of the kids in
Yeah,
that
right,
class. We were all, it was a close-knit community.
Yes.
It was a
Yes,
family.
It was a
Family.
big
The whole
family.
community was a family.
Yeah.
And you would know everybody from 2 or 3 years ahead of you to 2 or 3
Yes.
behind you,
Right.
because that's the way you went to school,
Right.
year after year. It's great.
We're blessed.
I think the thing that's missing with this generation is playing outdoors.
You don't do that.
All kinds, kick the can, Annie Ivy over, you
Yeah.
play sports. It was the Protestants against the Catholic. We played hockey on roller skates in Nordford's driveway.
Oh, yeah.
We played baseball at the field, and the whole thing was leave, be home for dinner. Dinner's at 6 o'clock. Don't be late or you don't get fed.
And up at the Fishman Farm on Fife Ice, the old Supreme Dairy, we played baseball, and we used the dried cow,
Done.
whatever, for bases.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's,
Recycling.
there isn't places like that for kids to play, hardly anymore, unless you live out in Buckley or someplace.
And I remember someplace going where a lot of ice, we used to ice skate.
Yeah.
Where the freeway goes through the Milton Canal, that used to all flood in the wintertime. We all ice skated down there.
Yeah.
Bonfires.
That big pond I think you're talking about is where our house used to be, and now the Acra dealer's there. Across the street from us in that field was that big, huge pond, and everybody go out there and ice
No, it
skate.
was in the play yard of the old school, behind the
Yeah.
grade school.
Well, there
Well,
was
Every
a
year it flood and
Yeah.
the boiler wouldn't run, so we'd have to stay out from school.
But it was out in that field there.
Good memories.
So, yeah, we have to get together again sometime and do this. So does anybody have anything else that they can maybe bring up? Say something to ring our bells?
The one thing that I remember, and I can still visualize it, was when they came to the school to take some of the Japanese, my friends, to take them away, and I can still see them on the bus.
Yep.
waving, and I still correspond with Harumi,
Mm.
and who has written a book.
Iwakiri?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
remember
still,
her name.
Yeah.
every year I hear from her, and that's one of my memories during the war. And my dad used to work with the Defense Council, I think it was called Fife Defense Council, and he was on that committee, and I do remember those days.
You know what I remember about the Korean War, I wasn't very old, but lived on Fife Heights, right above the Milton Tavern. And we'd sit on the banks and watch busload after busload. We'd count the buses of Army guys going to Seattle to be shipped out.
Well, and we used to, my babysitters were Yoshidas. Miyu and Fumi Yoshida were my babysitters. And I remember going to the Japanese parties at their houses. And then when they had to go to the camps, and we watched their homes and tried to take care of their homes for them. And I remember that.
And we did take care of their homes.
That's
All their
we
stuff
looked
went back, and
And-
a lot of other places
And
didn't.
Dan
like
Andrew
Ashland
was a
Island.
Yes.
big person in that, taking care of a lot of the
Yes.
Japanese
Right.
farms
Yes.
and
Yes.
their
We-
equipment.
We kept Yoshioka's piano and a large rug. And of course, I was so young, I didn't understand all that stuff, but they got it back, they went back to farming, and they're good people.
Yep, very good.
But I still remember the parties that they had. Oh, they were so special.
I bet they had some sake too, huh?
Well, I don't remember that.
I
All
re-
I remember is walking and seeing the dolls and things like that.
I still have
see their
dolls.
entryway.
Yes.
But Dennis.
Only time I ever saw my father is when he came home with tears in his eye, and he says, George Yamamoto and Tora Kuramoto were going away, and they came and took their farm.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, they were such a huge part of the Fife community
Right.
that everybody, like these ladies have said, everybody pitched in and looked after their farms. They locked their doors and walked out. And if you wanted to grow crops there, you could, but when they came back, everybody got their farm back. Except you lost a little of it somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, that is part of our history, and over in our museum next door, we have that all documented, and we have displays on that. Yeah, it's part of big history. I don't think the young kids today probably know too much about that, but you're working at trying to make that happen.
Well, we did the 75th reunion at the Puyallup Fairgrounds, and over 20,000 people came. 2,000 came for our particular presentation that Lori Matsukawa and I did, and a whole group of, actually a small group of people did it. But we felt like if we didn't tell that story that happened in this era, that if we didn't tell that story and prevent it from happening, we would have not done our duty to preserve, so that it would never happen again.
Okay, does anybody else have anything else? After the camera goes off, then we can tell the real stories.
On May 17th, you might put that on your calendar, no, I believe it's August 17th, that they're going to do a grand opening of the Brookville Park.
Yes.
And it will be open to the public and so forth. And so you can see the $100,000 bridge.
And one other, I was thinking, Dennis was talking about Conine. We had a future farmers, state, and national Lyle Raider.
Lyle Raider, yes.
Oh, yeah.
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 Yeah. And I don't know if we got any other famous people from Fife or not.
Yeah, we do.
Don Paul.
Don Paul
He
was
was one
a
of
pro
those.
football player. We have the guy who went to the UW, and he's now the head of the
Oh,
NCAA.
Mark,
Emmert, is it?
Yeah, Mark
Oh,
Emmert.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
In fact, his mother and aunt lived with my mother and our former mayor, Bob, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
The greenhouse. the
Greenhouse,
flowers.
yes.
Oh.
And
Mitsukami.
Mizukami. And they all
Up
lived
at
up to Millridge
Yeah,
Village.
my dad lived
Yes,
up there.
yes, right,
Are
right.
those guys still alive?
Not many.
Not
Wow.
My dad made it to 100, and
Oh my
he
gosh.
always said he'd been older if his dad hadn't been so bashful.
Oh.
So anyway, if anything else we can think of, otherwise we're gonna
So there's an all-school Fife reunion also.
coming up
September.
in September.
September.
Yeah.
If not, I want to thank all of you for attending, and thank you, John, the cameraman, for hopefully the film's in the camera. We haven't done this for nothing.
Thank you for doing this.
So
Yeah.
you're welcome.
Yes, thank you.
I am part of the museum.